Here just from the standpoint of why we use press technique. We want to be able to challenge the receiver's release by staying in a frontal position as long as possible to create disruption to the timing of the play. You know, the quarterbacks and receivers, they all work off timing. So anytime you can disrupt the timing and stay frontal position on the receiver as long as possible, the more you disrupt the timing to allow the rush to be able to get to the quarterback and impact the play. Just talking in terms of stance, we talk in terms of power position, okay? A power position, if you will, just as a corner and press. You want to have 3 bends. You want to have your feet under your armpit. You want to bend from your ankles, knees, and waist from the ground up. Okay, you want to have shoulders over toes with a slight arc in your back, and you want hands relaxed with thumbs up to the sky. That's the one thing we definitely talk about. I'm not a coach that want my guys to have their hands up, right? But at least have your thumbs in position where they pointing to the sky, and now you can utilize them without dropping them, okay? So from the alignment standpoint, if the receiver is on the line of scrimmage, we want to be 1.5 yards off the man. If the receiver is off the ball, we want to hug the line of scrimmage as much as possible. Check with the ref to make sure that we're not in a neutral zone for no penalties. And we want to be able, from a leverage standpoint, put our nose on the eye to our leverage side with the vital rules being applied. Our eyes is going to be focused on the midsection to your leverage side, okay? It's 3 types of releases we can get from a receiver when it comes to the line of scrimmage and how they're going to get off the ball when it comes to press man. And we always do a study on each receiver on a roster from a previous team that they played that utilized press technique. Number 1, you can get a foot fire release. A foot fire release is when the receiver is just sitting there and he's stuttering to come off the ball. We call that foot fire release, and you want to be patient with your hands and your feet in that situation. We also got a crossover release. It's a jab and go type of release, if you will, like all kids play basketball. So if you cross over, right, that's a jab and go. That's a crossover release, just like in basketball. And then you have a speed release where the receiver just try to outrun you. Typically, that's more of an outside release, speed guy kind of release that you get. But each week, it's important that your kids understand what type of release that's the primary release for each receiver that they cover. And we talk in terms of always protecting the radius. We tell the defensive backs you got a 3-yard radius to your left and to your right, and the receiver cannot release within those 3 yards either way. And what that does is ensures that we bubble his release to be able to, again, widen him, and that's helping us to disrupt the timing from a route standpoint in relation to the quarterback and receiver. All right, it's 3 levels to all route is how we teach. A level 1 route is from the line of scrimmage to the first 5 yards. If the receiver is square, we want to be square. All right, that typically tells us he's trying to come back inside. All right, but that's not 100%. All right, level 2 is your intermediate routes. Okay, typically those routes are breaking off anywhere from 6 yards to 14 yards. That's where you get your curls. That's where you get your digs and everything that goes with it. And there we talk about inside tight release or inside wide release. And then we talk about an outside tight or outside wide. And then a level 3 is any kind of big play type of route where it's 15 yards to the finish. At that point, we don't want to panic. You either going to get a 9-ball, a post route, or any type of route that exceeds 15 yards. And at that point, you want to stay cool and calm at the top of the route in those situations. So just here, Florida State is the school that I was at prior to arriving at Arkansas. So you will see some clips here from my experience there as well. Here's a foot fire release. Okay, that's what we consider a foot fire release. And again, just being able to, one thing that I do, I stand behind the defensive back whenever we're doing these drills, and I give the receiver a 1, 2, or 3. And they know a 1 is a foot fire, 2 is a jab and go or a crossover release. Number 3 is the speed release. And they give the look based on what number I give them, just to make sure we're working the different variations of releases that we can get. This is a crossover release. All right, that's a crossover release. All right, again, he square, we square. So that's a good job by the corner there, widening that release. All right, you can see it up top. All right, this is going to be a speed release. That's a speed release. Okay, good job of the defensive back cutting the release off and staying in the frontal position even once he released. All right, level 1, okay? That's from the line of scrimmage to the first 5 yards. The level 1 route is typically, what you're going to get whenever they run a hitch, a slant, or a speed out. Again, what we want to do is stay square if he's square and be patient. And we utilize a 45-degree kick slide on the release to be able to cut him off and bubble it. Always protect the radius. So here, again, I'm just getting the guys used to using their feet without their hands to make sure they're putting themselves in the best position. We don't want to cross over here at this point. All right, here we go. All right, again, eliminating crossing over here is really important, and making sure the kids understand that they have to strain with their feet in order to stay frontal on the receiver. So strain to stay in front. That's a really good job there by him, straining. You don't want your heels to click, so he need to make sure his feet are not making contact. All right, again, this is just force them to move their feet to stay frontal position on the receiver as long as possible. All right, right here, okay, I actually utilize bands here around the defensive back ankles. And what that does is forces them to learn how to keep a good base, how to not widen their base on the release. That is something you have to work. Now, the agile bags are there just to make sure he's not creating space. On offense, they want to create space. On defense, we want to take space away, right? So anytime we are pressing, regardless of what technique you're using, you don't want to create separation from the receiver. All right, now without the bags, but same expectation. Really good job. He widened his feet here, and this is what we don't want, right? We want to be able to maintain our feet under our armpits as we move and not widen our base, right? So that's what we don't want. Really good job there with the kick slide, widening this release. Now, once the receiver gets outside his frame, that left arm, as we see it, should be off. It turns into an offhand jam. I do believe in a 2-to-1 type of thought process, meaning if the receiver is frontal on me, I can use both hands with good balance and body control. But once he releases outside my frame, either way, it converts to a one-hand, offhand jam type of technique. All right, this is a look at it down here at the bottom. You can see he does a really good job with his kick slide. That's really good balance, really good body control. He got good posture. He maintains the arc in his back, and that let me know he's in a good position there. Now, again, that arm, he went with the wrong arm. Don't use that arm. He locked his hips. He should be using his right arm to widen the receiver once he gets outside his frame.